Hey guys, it's Eclecticallyme and today we're going to talk about budget witch tips. I might be talking a bit funny. I do have an abscess on both sides of my mouth, so I'm a bit so if I'm talking a bit funny, please excuse me. The next thing is if you have any of the budget friendly witch tips that you want to add to this, please be sure to leave it down below. I love to hear what you guys have to say and any tips that you guys may have that you want to add to the discussion. So, number one, I would talk about budget witch tips is in my hand right now, white candles and also tea lights. Tea lights are absolutely a fantastic thing to utilize in your practice. I actually copped a lot of flack on Witch Talk because I use tea lights a lot in my spell work, and I did a hex-friendly class tutorial, whatever, on Witch Talk, and I used a tea light. And I copped a lot of flack. There is so much things you can do with tea lights. You can get so many colours. They're versatile. Everybody can get them. And the next thing is they're cheap. And also, you can pre-make your tea lights. I tend to do that for a lot of my spell work. I will pre-make tea lights and have them already set for specific intentions that I can take them with me in my to-go altars. I can, if I go on holidays, I can take it with me. If I'm doing spell work, they're ready to go. I just grab it and Bob's your uncle. If I'm doing a money jar or a money bowl, whatever, I can just add my candles every time I'm done and burnt the candle out. The next thing I would recommend is looking at your discount stores. They are absolutely fantastic and abundant with so much witchy stuff. You would actually be surprised. I actually went to a local discount store recently. I tend to go to like Reject Shop, Kmart, and like the base. I have mentioned and done walkthroughs of witchy stuff, and sometimes you've got to look at the mundane stuff and see it in a magical sense. And $2 stores and these discount stores are really great for getting the basics like candles, tea lights, incense if that's what you use. Diffusers you can get quite reasonable in these discount stores. You can get wax melts quite reasonable. Your little spell jars you use, jars for your herbs, things like this you can utilize. Fake flowers to put on your altar. There's so much. You would actually be surprised. Even in the craft section, there's so many things you can do. You can make wreaths, you can make witches' bells, witches' balls, witches' ladders, and you can do art. You can be an arty witch, which that's the kind of thing I'm into. As you can see, I made all the things behind me, but utilizing this in your witchcraft, and you can actually create wards with your art, hide sigils underneath your paintings, and do so much as color magic. And also, if you're doing forms of divination, you can just paint freely and see what comes to you, and sometimes that is your divination and your intuition talking to you. So it's a great way of using what you have and using it in a budget friendly way. My next tip would be utilizing the apps. There is a lot of crappy apps, I must admit, online, but there is so many great ones too. I can recommend a couple good ones. There's the crystal directory. If you're wanting to learn about certain crystals, you can scan them and it will tell you about the crystal and all the correspondences behind it. There is also herb ones. I don't know off the top of my head the name of the herb one that I have, but there is a herb one, and you just basically take a picture of the herb and it will tell you all the stuff, culinary, the magical, and everything behind it. The next thing is there is like moon trackers that you can actually track the moon when you know when it's going to be the new moon, the full moon, the dark moon, crescent moon, gibbous, all that sort of stuff, so you can kind of track the moon and work out your spell work. There is also ones for your tarot cards. So say you're doing a tarot card reading, you can then look up the cards if you can't remember off the top of your head what card that what the meaning of the card is. The other thing is Wicca. There is a app called Wicca, and it's absolutely fantastic. And in it, it's got a community that you can actually talk to other witches, and you can put your spells up and view other people's spells. You can track the Sabbaths, whether you're northern or southern hemisphere. You can also track, there's crystal information, so there's all different crystals and their correspondences, herbs and all their different correspondences. You can also do, put your spells into it and actually have a directory and put them into sort of sections like it's like a book of shadows that you can either put it in a herb section, you can put them in a spell section, a DIY section, and the kind of have it that you go in and you've got them all there. The only thing is take pictures of it. I got locked out of my app one day and couldn't remember my password, and unfortunately lost a lot of my spell work. So I would recommend taking photos of it and keeping a backup copy of every spell you do if you put a spell into your book of shadows in the app. There's so much things that you can do in these apps. There is apps that have spells on it. There's apps that are communities, like there is a Witch Amino. It's kind of like Witch Talk, but it's a community that talk to each other, and you can put things up, you can ask questions and things like that. And it's a big community. There was an app I found today, and it's really great. It is called Witch Talk app. Yeah, I know, but stay with me. And it's actually an app to tell you all the herbs' intentions. So it doesn't actually tell you like a big write-up of each herb, but what it'll do is it'll come up, there's 3 sections. So there's like the news section, there's the correspondences, and then there's the substitute section. So basically you can click on a herb. So say I click on roses, it will come up love, self-love, protection, blah blah blah. So it'll come up all the intentions for each herb, and it actually categorizes them into sections. Or you can go by intention. So say I want to know which herbs are love intention, so then it'll tell me jasmine, hibiscus, rose hips, or whatever, and it'll actually tell me in that category. And then there's also a substitute section that'll actually tell me if you don't have that specific herb that you click on, it'll say some substitutes that you can use instead of if you're wanting that intention. So it's a really great app. It's actually called Witch Talk app, and it's like a little bottle, like in a lab. So it's I found it on Google, the Google app, and I would recommend utilizing that because it is. Tip, it is a little bit dearer, but you can get it on sale. At the moment they're selling these for $15 on the Nile, it's called, and it is an Australian app, Australian website. I buy them through eBay, but they do have a actual app that you can buy from. If you buy them from eBay, usually they're free shipping, but if you buy it from the app, it is money. At the moment these are on pre-order for next year's one. You can get this year's still. Next year's one I think is about $14. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's about $14. And it's half black, half red. And these are a great book. I have done reviews on these and they're absolutely fantastic. And the great thing about it is, as you get into it, and there is a northern version, there's a southern version, so don't stress about that. As you open it, it just kind of tells you a bit about the craft. It also tells you the important information like color magic, moon magic, and what all the different moons mean and how you can utilize them. There's also the lunar cycles and the information down there. You've also got the full moons of the year and what they are. You've got here the wheel of the year, and then you've got all the dates and the crossovers. You've also got the, as you can see here, the planting and harvesting days of the year. And again, like I said, you can get this. This is the Southern Hemisphere version. You can get a Northern Hemisphere version. And it'll have all the dates correct with your seasons. You've got the planetary information and your signs. You've got your magical weekdays and like your spell work and what days does what. You've got your goddesses and the moon phases. You've also got your magical moon times and when to cast. So as you can see, the dark moon, and all sorts. And then you've got your magical meanings of colors, so color magic. Then you've also got your magical directions, north, east, south, west. You've got your trees and which one's a which. And the great thing is, then each month you will have the month. So you have the month there, you have all the information of whatever Sabbath it is, what the moon phase that's coming, and what kind of spells, activities and things you can do. Then it'll go into like an incantation or an invocation. Then we've got moon magic, so it tells you a bit about the moon that's coming and things you can do for it. there will usually be a normal diary section, so you got like the full month in there, and it's beautifully decorated. There'll be images. You'll also have special dates that kind of stand for specific things, like birth dates of certain witches, or like important things that have happened, like Salem, or you know, like important things like that. And then you kind of go into, or it'll have Sabbath. It also tells you like the full moon. It'll also tell you information like that. It'll sometimes have zodiac information too. Then you have a spell every month, so a spell that goes with the month. Then you'll have a herb of the month, so it tells you a bit about a certain herb. Well, this was the Mead Moon. As you guys can see, it's telling me a bit of information about it and what it's good for. Then you'll have witchy tips every month. You'll also have a kitchen witchery section, so it'll have a herb of the month, like I said before. You'll also have witchy recipes that you can make with that specific herb. And I just think it's absolutely great. And there are so many witchy diaries out there. Then you've got another spell. So sometimes you'll have two, sometimes you'll have one spell. And then you'll have imagery, which you could save for later. And I tend to save these diaries, even though the month is up, the year is up. I tend to save them because they're filled with so much information. And obviously, it's not the same information every year. And then it goes on to the next month. As you can see, a Sabbath falls on this month. So you can see here's the Sabbath information, and then here's the month information, and the Sabbath more Sabbath information. So it's absolutely great, and there's so many diaries out there. Llewellyn's does an almanac. There's even almanac of the spell of the day. There's an almanac that's like a farmer's almanac. There is tarot versions. There's goddess versions. There's astrology versions. There is so many different types of versions out there, but I kind of like this because it's a bit of everything in the one book. There's the Moonology ones. I love the Moonology. I started off with the Moonology one because I loved that it told me all the different moon phases, and it also told me, and in the Moonology one it actually has the New York, USA, different times of the moons. It actually tells you the time, it tells you when the full moon is, the date. But it also tells you the Australian times, and it'll have like Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, and all that kind of stuff. And I also loved that it told you the zodiac of each day, and the astrology behind it, and the moon phases on each day. It wasn't witchy per se, but it was Moonology. And then for each month, you kind of have activities that you can do. So on the full moons, you have like things that you can release or let go of, and then on the new moons, you kind of have pages that you can write goals or things you want to manifest. And I find it a really great budget witchy tips that you can utilize in your practice. And they're great little books, and like I said, they're not that expensive. I think this next year's coming is $14. I know the Northern Hemisphere version's a bit dearer. I think it's $17, but the the Southern Hemisphere version is $14, I believe. And it's on special and on pre-order if you go and check the nile.com.au. But yeah, these are just some of my budget witchy tips. Hopefully you guys like them. If you want me to do this again, I have so many different tips that you guys might like. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. If there's something you guys want to see, be sure to leave a comment, and I will fill in the blanks and do that type of video. And I will talk to you later. Love hearing from you guys, and be sure to subscribe. I would love to have you as a part of the family. And if you're wanting to learn a bit more, I do have a beginner witch class. We do DIY class, there's a beginner witch, and I'm about to start herb classes. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to leave a comment and I can write back to you and let you know all the information. It is $10 a month, which isn't a great deal of money. And you learn so much and you're mentored by me. So I will leave the video there and I will talk to you later.